Hey YouTube, I just want to clean up a couple of videos here that people have asked me about, and I want to answer their questions. As far as the greenhouse goes, let me look at the fertilizer. Somebody had asked me the other day what kind of fertilizer I use, and I actually forgot what the name of it was. Okay, calcium nitrate is one of the parts. So calcium nitrate, and then this ChemGrow tomato formula. I use this stuff for tomatoes, and this is what I use for peppers, and I also use this for other greens. Yeah, let me check on that. Peppers. Okay, no, it's the master blend. Okay, so what I use this for peppers. This is for peppers, ChemGrow 11-11-40. I add equal amounts of whatever I determine it should be, calcium nitrate to that, plus Epsom salt. Okay, and then this ChemGrow, I use this for tomatoes, and I also use this for lettuce, cabbage, and anything else that I grow in a pond, any kind of greens like lettuce type things. So that should answer the questions, and I weigh everything out on the scale here. I know that it's a little bit ratty looking, but this is my mix for lettuce, and I use a grain scale for measuring gunpowder actually. So that's you can look at that and write that down if you want. And then for peppers, and these are for 5-gallon buckets, right? 5 gallons of this stuff is this mix, and then over here it's 175 for peppers, 175 calcium nitrate, and then 87.5 Epsom salt. That's what I mix in the different ponds and things, and that's my mix for that. Okay, so then there was another question about the sawmill and how you clean the blade, or how often you clean the blade. And let me just tell you that yesterday when we were making a cut, we had got a buildup of sawdust on the blade, or sap from cutting pine. So the blade all of a sudden started like tilting downward and making a downward cut. And I attribute that to the stuff that gets on the wheel here, and also what gets on the blade. Now the blade right now is not near as bad as it was without using the water. So water does help, but nonetheless it still sticks. You can see that, like in here, there's still you know, sap and stuff, sawdust that gets in there, and then the sawdust gets pushed pretty hard into this rubber thing here, and I have to clean that off as well. So as soon as I start getting any kind of a cut that's not straight, I stop, clean the blade, make sure the blade surface is clean, clean the rollers, make sure they're clean, and then I also clean these wheels up here. This is like a rubber fan belt here. I clean them as well on both sides. So that should answer the question for the other guy that had left a comment about that. So then there was also a question about the kiln, and I'm going to see if I can answer that right away. So let me back up here a little bit. Try and get this camera to sit here. Okay, so that's my kiln, and you can watch how this opens here. I do it that way because I haven't gotten a chance to get anything else made for that. I will be in the future, but I haven't done it now. Alright, so anyway, this kiln is 7 foot wide. 7 foot wide. It's 18 foot long. The reason for the 18 foot is you lose 8 inches on each side, or on both sides, when you put the walls up, and then you need some space in between on all 3 sides, the ends and in between the middle. So that gives me enough for 8 footers to fit in here. Now I have my meter with me, and this wood has been in here for quite some time, and you can see that it's at 9%. Okay, let me see if what this is. 8%. So I'm believing that that whole pile over on that side is about that setting. You can see what the temperature is in here now with the door open. It's only about 58 out here. It's almost 100. Don't forget I just opened the door, so it's going to cool down pretty quick. But take a look at the relative humidity. That's what's important, and it's pretty low there actually. Okay, so then this stuff here, the stuff on the top here was probably it's the newest wood, and you're looking at 8% there. This has been in here for about a month and a half, I would say. Let me check some of it down here. You're looking at 9% there. Now, let me just tell you that this little thing, this little tester made by General, I do not know how accurate it is. But you don't have to know a number of accuracy. You don't have to know the exact number of the percentage of moisture. Now try and follow me here. I don't know if this tool is accurate, but what I do know is that if I use this tool and I go in the house and I stick the prongs into a piece of furniture, or even, you know, a piece of furniture in the house, some wood from underneath the table or whatever, it registers 7%. So for this wood to be registering 9%, it's not that far off. You know what I mean? So I'm using it as a comparative tool rather than an exact number for this thing. Alright, so then let me just tell you some more about the greenhouse, or I mean the kiln. So on the outside, I used 1x12 boards, and this is called a batten style. So it's board and batten. Okay, that's what goes around the whole thing, all the way around both sides. On the inside, I used 2x4s to frame this out. Okay, and the 2x4s are stuffed with insulation all through this whole thing, sides, bottom, wherever. Everything's stuffed with insulation. The other thing is the concrete slab has styrofoam underneath it. I like building with concrete as a foundation. I've built a lot of houses this way, and when you put insulation under the concrete becomes a solar collector. Okay, and it holds heat. That's what I attribute to this thing being, you know, 50 degrees overnight when it's only 18 out. About 2 weeks ago we had that kind of temperatures and it was still good. So then this whole wall here, from up here down, I have 2 vents. Let me get to the vents. I got 2 vents, 8x16 vents, one up there and one on the other side. Okay? Now, I don't have vents on the bottom because I really don't believe that you have to bring air in from outside and then take it out to the top, because the humidity is always higher, especially where I'm at in Pennsylvania here. The humidity is always higher outside than what I want it to be in here. So I don't really want a transfer of air. What I open the vents for is when the humidity is very, very high, it seems to relieve some of the humidity in the air. But now that I've got the dehumidifier, that thing's been working pretty good. I mean, you saw what the moisture content of the lumber was. I'm hardly getting any water out of here. I mean, there might have been, you know, 12 ounces of water in there if I'm lucky over the past 3 days. So this wood is really dry. It's dry, and I wouldn't want to take it much below what it is. So I'm probably going to shut the dehumidifier off soon and just leave this stuff sit. But I want to get it planed as soon as I can. That's why I showed the video of my planer. Okay, so then anyway, that wall I framed out behind that wall, and that wall sits out about 2 feet from the back wall. Okay, the whole wall is covered with 3/8 inch or 3/8 inch OSB, which I hate, but it's cheap and I put it up. I painted the whole thing with flat black paint. These are cheap Walmart fans, Lasco. The only reason that one's not running is because the dehumidifier is plugged into it. I should have put an extra plug there, but I didn't. And the other two are also running. So that's basically all I have here. And you can see, you saw what the wood is down to. And again, I just finished this about maybe 2 months. It might be 2 months. I'm thinking between a month and 2 months I finished this pile, and it's already down to 9. Okay, that one's down to 7 and 8 and 9, different places where you test it. So as far as I'm concerned, that stuff over on that side is ready to be gone through the planer. Also in the front here, this whole wall along the bottom here comes off, so that when I come in here I can pick this whole skid up with my forklift or my backhoe and take the skid of lumber out of here. Now I need to make a 4-foot set of forks. I don't have that right now, but I don't care for the first time if I take boards out singularly, because I'm not going to be planing that much wood in one day, you know, just by myself. But there's just 2 hasps here that you know, just hook onto the wall. In the middle there's a hook. This wall breaks down in 2, so in other words it's like 9 feet here, 9 feet there to be able to take this apart, and then there's another hook here. And basically that's all there is to it. So yeah, that's what I have, and that's what I use, and you can see what the wood has gone down to. So I'm pretty happy with this, and I mean, it was my first try at this solar kiln drying, but you know, it came out good and everything seems to be fine. So that's where I'm at the moment. I'm going to set you down so I can close this door here again. Now as far as sealing this thing, I'm not going to say that this is airtight, because on the sides what we have here is the 1x4 rests on a 2x4, and then there's a trim board against that. Now that's not keeping all the air out of that, but it's keeping pretty much out, so infiltration's a minimum. And then I have this gasket here between the bottom board and the polycarbonate. There is a gap here where it overlaps so that I can open one door and then the other, but and there's no polycarbonate along that edge, so there's infiltration there. But if you think about it, this thing is so small compared to like a house, that in a house infiltration is somewhere around 18%. In other words, 18% of the volume of air in the house has come from infiltrated air that comes around windows, under doors, whatever. I think that this infiltration in here is probably, I don't know, maybe 20%. It doesn't matter, because I got the fans running, I'm moving the air constantly, and there's actually pressure in there. You can feel, because of the fans running, there's slightly like air is being pushed out. Now it's not a matter of it's not like it's making a vacuum. What I mean by this is it's pulling air in one place and letting air out in another, but it's not a great amount. It's a small amount, and that's why this thing was able to work so well. So you can see the temperature is down to around 90 there, but like I said, this was, the sun's hitting this pretty hard. This was about 58 before. Now it's at roughly 61, maybe 61 degrees. And the temperature inside the kiln is 92, but it's going to go up to 100 because that's where it was before I opened the door. And the polycarbonate I bought at Lowe's, I think it's like 32 bucks a sheet for a 12-footer. I just had to cut a little bit off to make it fit this. The 1x4 that's in there all came from the sawmill. All of the siding came from the sawmill. All of the framing came from the sawmill. The only thing I bought was the OSB. And really, I didn't have to buy that. I could have lined the inside with 1x12, but I was running out of pine 1x12, and I sure as heck didn't want to use oak. That's the purpose of the whole project I have going here, is to save the oak. So if you have any questions, that I didn't answer, I mean, on this thing, you can surely ask in the comments. Not really sure of what else to tell you about it. I know that, like I say, it's done its job, and I'm happy with it. I just don't want to leave this wood in here through the winter if I can help it. Of course, once it starts snowing, it's going to slow me down even more. Okay guys, have a good one there. Hey YouTube, I just want to explain a little bit more about cleaning these blades. So as far as the blade itself goes, what I do, and let me see how you're seeing this. Yeah. What I do with the blade to clean the blade off is I take a razor and I just run the razor. If I put it at an angle, you can see I'm missing the teeth. Usually there's no buildup on the teeth because they're sort of self-cleaning, because they're the things that are doing most of the cutting. I'm not saying they're perfect, it's just it's not as bad as what the flat part of the blade gets on it when it runs through the wheel. So I'll just take a razor blade and rub through there. Now I just want to show you these. Let me back up a little bit here. This is a blade. You can see there just how bad that is. When I first got the mill, I took this blade off. This blade is at least, it's been sitting in my shed for probably 3 months. And I heard somebody say something about the blades getting rusty. These blades are made out of spring steel. There's no way that blade should get rusty. Now, dirt, yes. The sap that's on here, I don't know if you can see that, but let me back up a little bit. Yeah, the sap that's on here, if you just take a razor, like I say, it comes right off. Okay, so it's no big deal. And that's how I clean the blade when it's on the machine. I also, if you watch my video about sharpening in the garage, I use the razor as a way of, seeing light underneath the blade to tell me which way the set is. But what I'm getting at here is the razor blade is how I clean the blade off, the side that runs against the wheels and stuff. The backside doesn't hardly have anything on it. But if your blades are rusty, you better consider what kind of blade you're buying, because this blade is 3 months old, sitting out in the shed where we have a relative humidity of, a moisture content in things of 19% around here. And I would say that if anything's going to rust, this should definitely be rusty. Now, that's not to say that you might not have a speck or two of rust, but I have done nothing to this. Obviously, I just took it off the saw, coiled it up, and threw it in the box, and it's been in there. Actually, I took it off the saw, hung it on a nail inside my little garage, and I just the other day coiled it up after 3 months of not doing anything to it. So you can see how easy, I don't know if you can see that. Let me try it from the other side here. Yeah, you can see here how easy it is to get the sap off. It comes off pretty quickly. And I also like using silicone spray to spray onto the saw blade after I clean it. The silicone spray evaporates, but I believe it leaves something on there that's, I'm not even sure what it is. Maybe one of you chemists might know. But it doesn't make it oily, and it doesn't affect the rubber, the silicone spray, but it seems to make the blade easier to clean. So, I'm just saying what I do here to clean the blade off is just take a razor and it comes, right off. I don't know if, I'm just hoping you can see that I can't do 4 things at once here. Alright, so just, that's how I clean it off, and then I'll wipe it off with this the 3M pad that I use, and I'll just clean it up or shine it up a little bit. But there's no rust on this thing, front or back. and it's been hanging in there for 3 months, and you know, it's basically outside. I mean, it's not, you know, exposed to the rain, but it's still outside in the garage. There's no heat or anything in there. Okay, and then the other thing that I wanted to clarify a little bit more here, let me see if I can get the camera in a little bit of a better angle here. Yeah. If you look at the edge of the rubber wheel, let me go up a little higher. The edge of this rubber wheel right here, I use this tool, and now you don't want to cut into this thing, but all I do is just scrape the stuff off of there. Now if you get too much of a buildup on there, I'll tell you one way that you can tell that you're getting a buildup of sawdust on the belt and on the blade without really looking at it. So let me just move the camera over here. Hang on guys, I'm hung up in the sawmill blades here. Okay, one of the ways that you can tell that you got a buildup on your blade while you're cutting is in this, where is it? Let me wind this down a little bit. Bear with me. Okay, one of the ways you can tell that you have a buildup of sawdust or sap while you're cutting, in other words, while you're doing your thing, is to look at this, and if, wait a second, I gotta set some stuff down. Okay, if you have this thing set at an even inch mark, like this, okay, and you have that, and it's in the hole up there, and you don't have it this right on the line, then there's something affecting it. And what happens is, as it gets a buildup on it, you can actually see this thing start to get weird there. You can't, when you put it on the actual inch mark, it doesn't really get to the inch mark. It's more or less below it. Now I have this set sort of for my height, especially when I'm up higher, so that I can, you know, look straight across it pretty much. But you can tell when that thing is off, but you're still on the inch mark. You can tell that there's sawdust or sap building up on the blade. So that's one way. It's not a maybe surefire, but it's pretty much will give you an indication that there's something going on there. And as far as the chain goes and stuff, somebody had asked me about, you can take this chain and you can put automatic transmission fluid on it if you want to. I just spray some liquid wrench on it to keep it loose. The same thing with the bearings. A little bit of liquid wrench isn't going to hurt it. But I don't want to get any liquid wrench on this rope, and I don't want to get any liquid wrench on the belt, okay, because that'll goof up the rubber a little bit there. And sometimes the rope slips. When the rope starts to slip, you may want to take and just sweep off the rails that go along here. Sweep the rails off on both sides. And also there's felt wipers down here, like this is felt. They recommend that you coat or soak them in automatic transmission fluid. And then there's also one here. You can see it's sort of dry. It's not leaving anything on my finger, so it's time that I put some on there. One of the guys had reminded me actually about that, so I'm going to have to do that as well. But I just wanted to clarify about how I clean the blade. And you know, when somebody said the blade gets all rusty from sitting, I don't believe that. Or if it does, I'm not saying I don't believe you saying it, but what I'm saying is a good blade should not get rusty, you know. And like I say, this blade was sitting in the garage that's unheated for the past 3 months, and there's no rust on this at all anywhere. So alright guys, I just wanted to clarify that. Have a good one.